I'm Guy Kawasaki. I am the author of Think Remarkable and the Chief Evangelist of Canva. And I am also a guest, honored to be a guest on the O'ChakDe podcast. And I want you to listen to my episode because it's going to help you think and be remarkable. And it is a remarkable podcast that I'm asking you to listen to. So that should not be that big a deal. All right.
Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video with Guy Kawasaki. I just want to talk about a course that he's doing on Canva. I'm Gen Z, so obviously we all know what Canva is. This is Guy Kawasaki's course, How to Be Remarkable with Guy Kawasaki. Be guided by Guy Kawasaki's wisdom in a series of sessions enriched with exclusive interviews from visionaries like Jane Goodall and Temple Grandin. Enjoy the episode, guys. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the O'ChakDe Show. We're Silicon Valley's first business podcast for teens hosted by a teen. I'm Sachin Syal. I'm a 17-year-old award-winning entrepreneur and podcaster from the Bay Area, and I interview remarkable and influential entrepreneurs, executives, and investors from all walks of life so we can learn from their stories and level up ourselves. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of 3doshas.com. We're a coaching company transforming lives through coaching principles inspired by 3doshas energies. The purpose of the show is to inspire you to go for it, which is what the Punjabi word O'ChakDe means. So today our very special returning guest is Guy Kawasaki. Guy is the Chief Evangelist of Canva and the former Chief Evangelist of Apple. He's an entrepreneur, author, venture capitalist, podcaster, and Stanford and UCLA alumni as well. He worked with Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak at Apple in the early days when he was a chief evangelist, and he was also a software evangelist. His newest book is Think Remarkable: 9 Paths to Transform Your Life and Make a Difference. So welcome back on the show, Guy. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me back. I like that your room is nice and neat.
Well, my dad was just telling me that if I turn my camera, you'll see my messy room. I'm a teenager, so he was just saying, so look at this.
Are you telling me that's a virtual background?
No, this is not a virtual background, but like I have like a setup over here, which is a little messy. And if you open that over there, you'll see all the mess. I mean, you remember when your kids were teenagers, they probably did the same thing.
So believe me, I know better than you about the messes teenagers can create.
Yes. Well, any surfing today?
You know, if I wasn't on your podcast, I would. So if we make this fast enough, I can still go surfing.
Okay, well, guys, just so you know, I interviewed Guy Kawasaki in 2022, and then I ran into him in Santa Cruz with my family on a trip. This is the picture. It was really fun. And I'm like, oh my God, Guy Kawasaki. He told me he's releasing a book. When I heard he's releasing a book, I'm like, I better get him on my podcast again. And here we are. So, Guy, before we jump into Think Remarkable, can you give us some background on your career? Tell us about the early days till today.
Well, you mean the early days of my life?
Anything you choose.
All right. So we'll just start with, I finished college. I went to law school for 2 weeks. I hated it. I quit. I went back to Honolulu, where I'm from. I worked for the rest of that year. And then I came back and I entered the MBA program at UCLA. And while I was there, I started working for a jewelry manufacturing company, believe it or not, counting diamonds. And after I graduated from the MBA program, I went to work for that manufacturing company, stayed there about 5 or 6 years. And then I did a very short stint in a software company, but it was acquired by a company out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I had no desire to move to Atlanta, Georgia. So I got a job at Apple as Apple's second software evangelist, and my job was to convince people to write Macintosh software and create Macintosh hardware. And after that, I worked at Apple. I started some companies. I returned to Apple as Apple's chief evangelist. I left that, started more companies. And today I'm the host of the Remarkable People podcast. I'm the chief evangelist of Canva. And I'm an avid surfer. And I'm the author of this new book called Think Remarkable.
I love it. Well, Guy, you explained this in our last podcast. a chief evangelist brings the good news of a company.
Yes.
So, in addition to that, what does a chief evangelist do?
What you mean, as opposed to just a regular evangelist?
Well, yeah, like what is your role at Canva?
Oh, same thing. I brought the good news of Apple with Macintosh, making people more creative and productive. And now my job is to bring the good news of Canva, which has democratized design. So it enables just about anybody to make beautiful designs and be a better communicator. We have about 175 million active users, and I bet you use it too.
I mean, you asked me that in the last interview, and I told you I did. And I do. I love Canva. Canva is freaking amazing. It's amazing stuff. I make all my thumbnails on Canva, all my social media designs, my promotions, my newsletters, everything is Canva. So
Yeah, see?
the fact that I'm getting to talk to an executive from Canva is really cool. Um, can you tell us about some of the companies you started? And then how do you think entrepreneurship has changed? Like what's different about entrepreneurship when you were an entrepreneur to today?
Well, I think that entrepreneurship, the barriers have lowered because of, well, I mean, just, before you had to buy computers, you had to have a room full of servers, and now you just, you cut a check to AWS, and
Yeah.
that's a lot easier than maintaining your own servers, buying your own servers, repairing your own servers. I think that social media and email lists provide a much cheaper mechanism. You don't necessarily have to spend millions of dollars in traditional advertising, not even traditional advertising, i.e. Facebook. So, all the barriers are lower, but having said that, the flip side of that is the barriers are lower, so there's more competition. So it's not necessarily easier. It's just a different kind of challenge today.
Got it, got it. And okay, would you rather be a chief evangelist, a software evangelist, or an entrepreneur? Like, what was your highlight of your life? Like, what did you like the most?
Uh, well, being software evangelist of Macintosh division of Apple that's a pretty rare kind of position.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't
exactly.
get to say you did something like that very often. But
Yeah,
I got to tell you that, you know, maybe more people are going to touch and use Canva than the products that I evangelize for Apple. So I look forward to the day where people know me as the chief evangelist of Canva and they don't know me as the chief evangelist of Apple. That'll be a good day.
got it. Well, this podcast can help you with that, guy. We'll
Okay.
try doing that. Yeah. Um, so what do you think what is the future of Apple and what is the future of Canva? Let's hear it from the man, the myth, the legend, Guy Kawasaki. What do you have to say?
What is the key feature?
What is the future?
Oh, future. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
heard it as feature. Well, I don't know what the future of Apple is because I have not worked for that company for quite a while, but it seems like it's just steaming along. Canva is just on this path to help people make everything they have to make that has to do anything with the graphic design, whether it's obviously presentations, but also websites. And now they've incorporated AI into Canva. So we can help you create documents. We can help you create presentations. We can help you create images, generative AI. I mean, it's a whole new world out there.
It truly is. Actually, did you ever use Canva when you designed your books?
The way a book is done, at least when you're with a New York publisher, is you write it in Word, and then you give the Word file to the publisher, who puts it into a production department. And when you write a 200-page document with 50 to 100,000 words, that's different. That is a different kind of path. You could write a book in Canva, but I have to say, I don't think that's the ideal use of
Yeah,
Canva.
yeah. So I know you're good friends with Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
I watched the interview with him. Actually, let me just show my audience. I'm actually wearing his merch right now. So I have my merch and I have Gary V's merch. It says selfless. I got that from a David Meltzer conference. But anyways, you were talking to him about your new book, Think Remarkable. Um, so you also talk about doing good shit. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your book and let's talk about doing good shit. What does that mean?
Okay. Okay. Good shit is, well, it's kind of hard to define. I mean, it's kind of like pornography. You know it when you see it, right? And
Yeah, okay.
uh,
That was interesting.
so, I mean, when back in the 80s, when you first saw Macintosh, it wasn't hard to think, my God, this is so different from anything else. And I think if you come from Photoshop world and the first time you boot Canva and you look at all the templates and all the design types, you're in a completely different world. It's not just a blank slate with dozens of tools to figure out. I think that's a very good test. It's hard to define, but you can intuit that, yeah, this thing is very different and it's got a different philosophy. And I think that's one of the challenges of entrepreneurship, which is it being your product or service, it sells itself in the first 30 seconds or so. I mean, if it takes longer than that, you got a problem. You have a problem.
Yeah. This whole time I realized that my lights weren't plugged in, so let me do that. And now let's talk about your podcast.
Well, it's better that your light not be plugged in than your microphone.
Yeah, I know. Tech
I've
issues.
done that.
Oh, really?
Today we released an episode with a very famous surfer named Jerry Lopez.
Oh, nice.
And Madison Neismer, who's the producer and co-author of the book. She's a surfer too, and we were so excited to interview Jerry Lopez. We forgot to press the record button for the first 30 minutes. So.
Oh my God. Well, I'm recording right now. I hope it's recording. Tell us about Think Remarkable. What is the book about and who is it for?
Sure. So Think Remarkable. I have this podcast, Remarkable People. It's now in its 5th year. So it's probably 250 hours of recording, 5,000 pages of transcripts. And nobody's going to read that much or listen that much. So Madison and I decided to take down 5,000 pages to about 170 so that people, particularly in your generation, they can tap the information and inspiration of people like Jane Goodall and Steve Wozniak and Angela Duckworth and Carol Dweck. So I cover about 88 tactics in the book. So 170 divided by 88 is roughly 2. So, each tactic is explained in 2 pages because, listen, I'm a nonfiction writer. I know how it is. And there are many nonfiction business books that take 250 pages to explain one concept, right? And
yeah.
Once you learn the concept of a minimum viable product, do you need 248 pages to tell you more about it? Not clear to me you need it, right? So this book is very short sections, lots of headings, and many, many, many bullet points. Lots of bullet points, because I love bullet points.
Okay. And what about the podcast? What is that? Is that similar to the book?
Well, the podcast is the superset, and we took just the best lessons and the best examples from the podcast. So, as I said, it went from 5,000 to 170. And the podcast has had about 225 people, but only 70 are in the book because some of them had, duplication of lessons and stuff. So it's like any other funnel. As you get further and further down, it gets tighter and tighter and more selected.
So, Guy, this is your 16th book, right?
Yeah.
Would you rather be surfing or writing a 17th book?
Whoa. Depends on the wave conditions. How's that? That's an honest answer.
That is an honest answer.
Like right now, it's pretty flat. So that's why we're on this podcast recording. If it was really good, I would have called you up to postpone.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I'm actually a high school senior. And I'm going to be attending San Jose State University, majoring in advertising this fall. What's your best advice for me in college?
My best advice for you in college is that you stretch it out as long as you can and you do a lot of sampling. So you take a lot of different courses. And I don't know if San Jose State has overseas affiliations, but you should definitely take advantage of that. Listen, if you're 18 or 19, you're going to be working, or you can work because of longevity for another 60, 70 years, right? So there's no rush to get into the job workplace. And chillax. Don't be like, so driven that you figure like, oh, I gotta get my internship at Google. I gotta get my internship at McKinsey or Goldman Sachs, or my life is ruined. Your life is not going to be ruined if you don't get those internships. And I will also tell you, if you do get those internships, your life is not assured. So just chillax, collect a lot of data, and pursue a lot of interests.
Mm-hmm. That's what I hear from a lot of people. So I appreciate for coming from Guy Kawasaki. So I'm an entrepreneur. I bootstrapped a startup with my family, spirituality and wellness based on yoga and Ayurveda company called Three Doshas. I was just curious, Guy, do you follow spirituality in any way, or do you mention that in any of your books?
I don't really mention it. I do believe in God, but I think in 2024, listen, there is such a chasm between believing in God and believing in this man-made convention called the church.
Yeah.
Because particularly in Christianity, like, I don't know how some of those people say they believe in God and, they're Christians, and they do such heinous things to people. I don't understand how you can, say, yeah, I'm a believer in God, but LGBTQ plus should be banned, and they should be, re-educated, and let's put Muslims in camps, and all this kind of stuff that's coming out from many politicians who claim that they're deep believers in Christ and Christianity. I mean, they're such hypocrites. I mean, I think they're so hypocritical. They don't even know they're hypocritical, which is kind of sad. But
yeah. Well, it's not really. It's not our company. My dad's an executive coach. My brother's our CTO. My mom's a operations officer. So what we do is we do like coaching and executive coaching and life coaching and personality tests and stuff based on yoga and Ayurveda. So it's all about like just leveling up in life in corporate world or just in your everyday life in school and work. Um, I asked you this in our previous interview. I just want to hear from you one more time. What is your best advice for teens?
my best advice for teens?
Yep.
Well, I've raised 4 teens. Well, my wife and I raised 4 teens, and I listen, I don't hold myself up as an expert in parenting. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way. But it's
I think
kind
you'd
of
be a
what,
good
like I've
parent.
already said, that do a lot of sampling.
Yeah.
Don't it's not like we're tiger parents and we had our kids taking calculus at age 5, and by
Okay.
age 10 they were starting a not-for-profit in Africa so they could write a great college essay, so they could get into the Ivy League, so that they could have a life of high net worth and all that. I mean, I the more kids I have and the longer I'm a father, the less I think I know about raising kids. And I also think that this concept that you can control the life of your kids, that is a massive delusion. You have no control whatsoever. So
Hmm.
so for teens, I'm just saying, sample a lot. Don't get stuck in a box. Fight that till the very end.
Yep, I love it. That's what I'm gonna be doing. Actually, tell me about your background. I really like it. It's different from last time. There's like on your left, there's like what is
Oh,
that?
this background. I thought you meant my
Yeah.
background in life.
No, no. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm always futzing with my background. So this thing here, the reason why it has all those squares, and I put some rubber stamps in it, and I put some small bottles of paint, but it's basically a bunch of squares with different depth, and that's to prevent echo.
Oh.
So the black background is actually acoustic foam. That is to prevent echo. I'm in a closet that's about 4 feet by 6 feet. So
Oh, wow.
I have 2 studios, and this is the one near the ocean. So I didn't want to end in the other studio and then have to drive to surf Like I didn't want to lose that half an hour. So I have it all planned out that as soon as we end, I'm going to look at the water. If it looks good, I'm going to go.
Guy, why do you love surfing so much? Is it like a lifelong passion?
No, I started at 60 and it's hard to describe. It's a very difficult sport.
Yeah,
And
for sure, for sure.
it it's just the concept that you're harnessing the power of Mother Nature and it's like you're not using electricity, you're not using internal combustion engine, you're going 12, 15 miles an hour. You're not even using gravity really. And so you're just, you are not necessarily in control. You are riding a wave, right? And to some extent you can control what you do on the wave, but fundamentally the wave is bigger than you. And I don't, it's very, if I had discovered surfing earlier in my career, I would not be on your podcast because I would not have accomplished as much.
You told me that. You said the same exact thing in the last interview.
I see, it's still true. And I surf almost every day.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
I
don't
think
know if it's impressive, but I surf almost every day.
It is. I mean, most like young people are afraid to surf because it's pretty like it could be dangerous and it's really hard and tiring, but you're still doing it. So it's awesome.
But you know what? I mean, this leads, the book is divided into the growth, grit, and grace, and this is all about growth. So I never surfed when I was a kid because I didn't have a growth mindset. I was like good at academics and I love football. So I never tried surfing and now I regret it. And so, I had to wait till I'm 60 to take up surfing. So as a young person, you need to try all kinds of things and all kinds of sports. Don't wait till you're 60. And I bet you just mathematically, for you living over the hill, the most dangerous part of surfing is driving on Highway 17.
Okay.
The odds of you getting eaten by a shark are zero. The odds of you, drowning are close to zero. I don't remember the last time somebody drowned surfing around here, but the odds of you getting rear-ended and dying on 17 are much higher than drowning or getting eaten by a shark.
Noted. Thank you for letting me know. Can you like explain, like you said when you were younger, you didn't have as much of a growth mindset, you had a fixed mindset. How'd you swap? How'd you switch?
Well, I think that the book by Carol Dweck called Mindset was a fundamental changer of my life that I read. I said, I get it now. You can either be fixed and believe you cannot learn new things, or you can have growth and try new things. And everybody that I interviewed in my podcast that became remarkable, they had a growth mindset for sure. You cannot be remarkable if you don't have a growth mindset.
I agree. Well, last two questions. This is the first one. Can you tell us some more about Madison? She has scheduled this. She's helped me a lot. She's a co-author of the book as well.
Yeah. So Madison, of course, I met her surfing, which is,
that's cool.
Some people use Indeed, some people use LinkedIn, some people use, Craigslist. I use surfing. So I met her surfing and I just asked her, what do you do? And, what's your background? And she had graduated from the University of Nebraska and she was working as a nanny and stuff. And, she's been trained in nutrition. And I said, well, I need some help with my podcast, just transcribing things and, checking the transcription that's automated and, answering email. And she said, yeah, I can do all that. I said, okay. So off we go. And gradually I've just given her more and more. And she just like is a big sponge and she just sucks it up. And she's one of the smartest young people I've ever met.
Wow. Well, it's good to have a co-author. I'm working on a book with a bunch of other co-authors at the moment, and I'll let you know when it's out. But last question of the day, what was your favorite part of being on the O'ChakDe show today?
My favorite part is, let's see, my favorite part of really podcasts when I'm the guest is when I get asked questions that I've never been asked before. I really have to think. I mean, I have been asked, what was it like to work for Steve Jobs about 50,000 times, right? So anything that's not like that. And I that's also my suggestion for you as a podcaster, that your goal should be to ask questions that no one has ever asked before. And, I mean, that what that takes, it takes, I think, about 3 to 5 hours of research for every guest. That's what I do. And,
Okay.
it's podcasting. Some people think podcasting is so easy. You just get the guest, you turn on the computer, you press record, and, out comes the wisdom. But man,
No, it's not like
if you
that.
only knew what it took. Yeah.
From one podcaster to another podcaster, we know it's not like that. Anyways,
well, I interviewed a guy named Mark Manson, and he wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a You Know What. And he told me, Guy, when you start doing things for the things that you do that everybody else considers a shit sandwich, but you love the shit sandwich, you found what you love. And podcasting has several shit sandwiches that I love. And like when I never record the introduction to a podcast as I'm recording the podcast, because I think that during the podcast, you may discover things and go in directions you never anticipated. So a good introduction will incorporate some of those last minute details in the introduction. But you can't record the introduction before the interview because you haven't crossed those changes and you haven't crossed those unexpected turns. So I need to do my introduction. Often I do them weeks later. Okay. And I'll tell you that my introductions are about 30 seconds, but often they take between 30 minutes and an hour to do that 30 seconds. And I would consider that a shit sandwich.
What is a shit sandwich actually?
A shit sandwich is just what you think it is. It's something that, you think most people would not want to eat a shit sandwich, right? So a shit sandwich, let's say you're writing a book, and so you understand this. And writing a book, it's not really writing that's the shit sandwich. It's the editing. And you're going to go and edit thousands and thousands of times. And you have made your life maybe more complicated because you have co-authors. So, it's like, who wrote this section? Am I going to piss that person off by editing it? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling you that a lot of people from the outside looking in and say, wow, that is a shit sandwich, man. You got to edit that over and over and over again. You got to deal with your co-authors. You got to deal with their egos. You got to convince them, blah, blah, blah. What a shit sandwich. But if you love it, that means you love writing because that's what writing is.
For my book, it's called Young Changemakers, and there's gonna be there's a older woman who's like 40 or something, and she's just gonna be managing teenagers who are gonna be co-authoring. So I'm looking forward to it. And if I ever use the term shit sandwich, I'll say that came from Guy Kawasaki.
I guess I should be happy with that.
You should. I mean, you've already made it in life, and you just created it. Well, did you create that term, or is it a known term?
Oh, Mark Manson told me the term, but it's a common term. I mean, you've never heard somebody say that's a shit sandwich?
I've heard when crap hits the fan or shit show and stuff like that, but
well, same concept. So
yeah. Anyways, Guy, let me know if you want to go surfing sometime soon. That'd be pretty fun.
All right.
I'd love to go with you. And I heard that Madison
send my best to your parents. Okay.
I will. And Madison said she'll be sending the book to my address, so I'm looking forward to reading it.
Okay.
Guys, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much, Guy.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Life is good. Bye, everyone.
Bye.